You're tuned into the Visibility Strategy live stream with Amy Nubson and Christina Vidovich, where strategy meets storytelling and confidence takes the spotlight. Join us every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern as we help you set sail on your visibility journey. Happy April, everyone, and welcome to Visibility Strategy. I'm Christina.
And I am Amy. We are so excited to have you here today. We are talking about visibility, but with inner strength of showing up today.
Showing up. Because guess what my tagline is? Visibility starts by showing up.
Yes, you can't really be visible without it. I mean, that's one of the things I've learned, and I'll be honest, I really tried to be visible and not have to show up when I started my career because I'm like, I don't want to. Like, is there another way? And this is the harder way to get visible. I think, in my opinion, that was my experience of the more I resisted the visibility part of me showing up, going to the room, networking, the slower the responses and actually getting business was.
Yes, and that happens to be part of the title today is facing that fear and our awareness that's around it. And it's such an interesting place because the fear stops us. The fear stops us from showing up. The fear stops us from getting visible. The fear stops us. But what we want to do is let's talk about that and be more aware and honestly aware of where is that coming from so that we can kind of work through a little bit of a checklist.
Yes. I mean, there are definitely things that really support your visibility and showing up. And for me, it was asking myself questions when I was trying to avoid something like, oh, I'm just not feeling it. Or maybe there won't be the right person in the room. Or you start thinking those thoughts and you start talking yourself out of something of showing up. But then I started asking better questions that were more successful questions. Like, what do I want to achieve? Will this support me with my goals? So sometimes reframing a question that you're asking yourself of like trying to talk yourself out of it, you're analyzing it to see if it's the right fit for you instead. And that helps you get out of the fear because you're like, no, I really, really actually need this opportunity. Okay, I'm really afraid of it, but what am I going to do about it?
Yes, I love it. It's the reframe. It's the reframe and asking the right questions. I mean, it reminds me of what we talked about last week of fine. Are you scared? Yes. Why? I don't know. Like, let's talk about it. Let's get into that place and understand where is it coming from? Why are your palms starting to sweat? And why is your heart starting to race? Where is that fear coming from? And then going, okay, no, you're not going to conquer me, fear. I'm going to conquer you and understand why you want to take control of this room. So stopping and starting to evaluate, like you said, I thought was beautiful of like, okay, if we move fear out of the way, what can I start accomplishing? What am I going to do when I walk in that room? What is the one thing, if you had to nail it down to one thing that I could walk out of today, one connection, one conversation, even oh my gosh, I did it.
Oh, yeah, you just showed up and that was the success you needed.
Yeah, we forget that sometimes it's just the baby steps that count. They really count because without baby steps, we don't learn to walk or run. Yeah.
Yes. And a lot of times too, fear comes along with our really bad associated friend of assumptions, right? Those assumptions kind of like go hand in hand with fear. So once we start to trigger and you start making assumptions is a great way to recognize, go, wait, what's happening right now? I'm making assumptions. Like I used to make an assumption like nobody there is going to want to talk to me. That was a pretty big assumption I used to make back in my 20s. And it would be an easy way for me to accept it and go, oh, then I just won't show up.
Mm-hmm.
what's the point? And I just talked myself out of it. I'm like, well, that, doesn't work. It does work, but it's not an efficient way to run your business or create a brand or network with the people or get connected to the right people because you did show up.
Yeah. Yes. I love this because it's some of those things that I even stop and tell myself, it's okay, wait a minute. There are people in the room who don't know what you know. I was on a call yesterday and it was so interesting to me because one of the things they were talking about is we need 1 square for marketing for this event. And the woman who got voluntold that she's going to be doing it, she's like, oh, I'm going to send it to my designer, but she's so busy, so it might be another week. And for me, I'm going, oh, I could create that in the next 10 minutes and have it ready to go. But, again, it's the skill sets that we have and that we forget that, wait a minute, I'm already at a place with what I'm doing that other people aren't. And why do we underestimate ourselves? That's a really interesting question. Well, do you have any thoughts on that and why we underestimate what we already know?
What I've observed in my own life and others is we forget that they're actually skill sets. The more comfortable we are with them and the more natural they are, the more we actually discredit them. Mm-hmm. Because we're like, yeah, I'm good at that. Isn't everybody? Ooh. Again, that everybody else can do it. So there's nothing special about it.
Yes. Oh my gosh, nail head hit. We assume it's not special, that everyone can do it, but it is absolutely not the case.
Yeah. I've met business owners who are terrible project managers. And I've met some who that only focus on the project management and they don't know how to do the sales part. We're not intended. There's a very rare person that can do every aspect of their business or every aspect of their lives perfectly, right? That's almost impossible.
Yeah.
So, but we try to achieve it.
Yeah. Especially as small business owners, because you're learning to wear so many hats.
So you're supposed to sell at them all.
Exactly.
But yeah, we do keep those. It's weird. We keep some of our most interesting skills and abilities kind of hidden from people.
Yeah. It's such an interesting thing. Because it's a common thread. It's a common thread for all of us to not shine in our light already. It's like, oh, wow. Like going to school. Goodness gracious. Let's think about a doctor and a lawyer who've gone to a professional school. So they have letters at the end or beginning of their names. So we're like, oh, okay. We already make that assumption. Even though we have spent years in business, years studying, even though we don't have extra letters at the end of our name, doesn't mean that we don't have the brilliance and the genius that can create business surgery, so to speak.
Yes. And that's another good point too, Christina, is the idea of say you have a skill set in one area, and then all of a sudden you're moving into a completely different new, like that doctor, like they're a doctor and they love what they do. Or maybe they're a chiropractor and they're like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I want to move into the world of, event planning. Somebody would see that as completely different skill sets, but not really. There's a lot of overlap that we forget about, like you're still running a team. You're still communicating and holding a schedule accountable. You're still billing and a lot of coding, and you have to know all of these little details and make sure everything is going correctly in order to get the invoices and the money coming in. What does an event planner have to do? So many tiny little tasks throughout the entire day. Very similar, actually. Yes. But we don't always associate those skills, and when we break them down to the simplicity of them, what are we doing? We assume it's like, oh, this is in this area, so that's where they need to live.
Yes. And I love this analogy, and we're going to get into it tonight. You go to a doctor, you go to a lawyer, you trust You already are coming in with that trust that they know what they're doing. How do you think your clients are coming to you? They're already trusting that you're the expert. That doctor isn't doubting themselves as they're cutting you open. That lawyer isn't, doubting themselves as they're signing that document for you. We have to trust ourselves that, yes, people have come to us in that same light. And yes, I want to dig deeper into that in tonight's Visibility Accountability group, which is 7 p.m. I was going to say Central, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Pacific. So join us. Here is our dance break to remind you to come and join us and have some fun. It is free to come for us for that first month and see.
Share your story, own your name, step in the light, ignite your flame, show up, shine out, it's time to be heard, flip fear into power with every word, visibility, accountability, we write a wild new legacy.
So onto that same thread of trusting ourselves, there is this piece of perfectionism that holds us back also.
Yes. Perfectionism, I think perfectionism is probably the biggest hindrance we have. A lot of times people will, and if you can listen to what people are saying, they're like, ooh, I'll start it when you hear that, you're like, oh, okay, let's figure this out. Like that's when my hearing goes, what? We're going to dive into this a little deeper now. It just triggered my mind to go, we're avoiding something.
Yes.
The fear behind the avoidance. Like you start digging down layers. But perfectionism is, I will do it when I have all the knowledge that I need to know.
Yes.
I don't know about you, but I've never gotten all the knowledge I needed, ever. Like, even in my 20 years of marketing, I'm like, okay, I got about 80% of the content and I have to fill in the last 20% and take a shot at it and go, did I get it right? And then sometimes I do and sometimes they don't. They're like, no, that's not right at all. Okay, what is right?
Yeah. And that perfectionism leads to procrastination.
Yes.
And how long are you going to wait? How long? Is it going to be a day, a week, a month, a year, or longer? Think about it. And then how many times, once people step through that door, it's like, oh, that's what I was afraid of?
Yeah,
And
they're
it's
like, no big deal. And I'm like, not usually. Our minds make it a bigger deal.
Exactly. And just getting rid of that and just starting where you are today, and for an example, I think about when I moved from audio podcasting to video podcasting. I said, you know what? I've got to start today. I picked a date on the calendar with, I'm ready or not, I'm showing up. And I did. And again, this goes back to another conversation we had of like, it gives us a marker in time so that we can look back and look at our growth. Had I not just jumped in and did that first video podcast, we wouldn't be here today sharing visibility strategy with others.
Oh, yeah. And if I would have let perfectionism stop me, I would have been like, I'll wait for a really good hair day. I have a really curly hair. That rarely happens, right? I'm like, I can't let that stop me. Or when I lose 15 or 20 more pounds, I will start the videoing. Well, then before I knew it, I wasn't losing any weight because I was avoiding the video itself. So then I was actually kind of hurting other goals as well.
Yes. What I learned is the snake eating its own tail. It just continues to go around and this to this to this to this to this to this. And it's like, no, breaking that cycle.
Yeah.
And being aware that we are doing these things to ourselves. And it's
yeah. Okay, so yeah. Sorry. I was going to say a great question to ask is, what am I avoiding? That is one of the best questions I ever ask myself is like, what am I avoiding right now? And is it hurting me? Is it helping me? Is it hurting me? What is it? And I don't judge my answers. I just let it come and go, okay, now there's more knowledge I have. What am I going to do about this?
Mm-hmm.
If you think of any question, that one, what am I avoiding?
What am I avoiding? I love that. I love that in so many levels because it makes me think, are we procrastinating because it's what we don't really want to do?
There are those too.
Yeah. And, it's becoming so clear. I love these conversations. I love this whole strategy because, again, I'm referring to conversations we've had before, but it's just so enlightening is the what I do and don't want to do. And that clarity of not wanting to do it might be one of those reasons that you are procrastinating, of going, no, I'm tired of doing this same thing over and over again. Why? And answer that too. Why? Burnout. I have no joy in this. It's taking time away from my family or my free time. I'm spending so much time over here. What is it as well that's really causing these things? And I love that because there's so many with ourselves. I think that's another thing that's hard is sometimes we just have to sit down, sit yourself down at a table, pull up that notebook, pull up your laptop, your iPad, whatever. Have a conversation. You don't have to share it with anybody. Have a conversation, an honest conversation with yourself of why. Why are you doing this? One, how's it making you feel? Because that can bring up some things too. And, I'll do it when, why? And then that question, ask it again. I want everybody to hear it.
Yes. And it could be just as simple as you look like you're having a meditation. That's what I used to do. Just have like a sit down, quiet, close my eyes. And I would just literally follow the thread with the questions and go, oh my gosh, I don't want to do it because I really am insecure about, this maybe it's a new skill set that I was presenting or promoting. And I'm like really nervous about it. And all of a sudden I was like, I don't know how to show up in this space. And I don't feel like I have the confidence. So then what I was doing was avoiding everything, which then procrastinated everything. And then I never showed up for quite a long time. When you do something uncomfortable, tends to kind of go down that track.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the other thing I want to let other people know who haven't joined us on a call yet on our accountability is it is a safe space. Right. It is a safe space to explore, to talk, to ask questions. And sometimes if you're feeling like it, to just listen.
Yeah. Last week we had somebody who couldn't get their audio to work. And she's like, this was the best session I ever had. And she was typing. And I'm like, we weren't able to even hear her. And it was wonderful to have her on the call. These are great places for you to ask us questions too. Maybe if you, one of my strengths is to try to help you find that what are you avoiding? Because sometimes it is easier to have somebody else ask you those questions until you get familiar with that process of digging down and going a little bit more. Because fear of being seen is a really strong fear in some of us. It's a safety fear. It's a primal fear.
Yeah.
So when you think about that and you start to understand that, you go, okay, I'm not alone in this fear. This is not an easy thing for a lot of us to do. But we can't let it stop us if it's something we want.
Exactly. And so with that, we're going to invite you to join us for Visibility Accountability. This is the beginning of our community. And if you are ready to lift up your visibility journey, we want you to be in the room. Again, come and join us. Come for a few calls. Come for a month of calls and see how much your life can change when you start to say yes to you. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Visibility Strategy. I'm Christina.
And I'm Amy.
And we'll see you next time.
to be heard. Flip fear into power with every